So today's topic is the post build activities. So once you install the operating system, right? So there are a couple of activities that we do before we hand over the computer to the production. Okay. So such activities we call it as, or the validations we call it as post build activities. Post, or we will also call it as ORT, means operation readiness test. Okay. So once you complete the build activity, I mean installation is completed, we will tell that build is completed. But how will you make sure you have a quality build actually? Means the requirement is fulfilled or met. How you know? Correct, na? So you have to have a checklist actually. Okay, that checklist will contain the couple of activities. Okay, so before that installation only we will have, there are two types of installation. Correct, na? One is it is a fresh build. Fresh build means you are freshly installing the operating system. Another one is rebuild. Rebuild or reinstallation means, fresh build means you have a new computer and you are freshly installing the operating system. Say for example it's a new laptop, new desktop. Okay, if such kind of machines are there and you are freshly configuring the uh, uh, drive, C drive, D drive, everything, and you are installing the operating system, that is called as fresh build. Okay, there is no operating system installed previously, that is called as fresh build. Okay, if you are installing such kind of operating system or computer, that is called as a fresh build. Second one is rebuild or reinstallation. So multiple times you have seen the user computers will go slow, or user computer may get crash, or user computer may have a lot of operating system error or performance is slow. That time you decided to install the operating system to the same computer. Okay, so once you start planning for the reinstallation, you should have multiple things to be checked actually. One is whether the user has taken all the data backup, whether the user has taken all the data backup or not. First and foremost thing you need to make sure, and then you need to take the data backup, or you need to ask the user to take all the data backup. Predominantly most of the time the user, they themselves will take the backup, because you don't know what data is important, what is not important. But some VIP user, they will tell, I don't have time, can you please manage to take the backup of desktop, downloads my documents, like that they will give some folders. You need to copy that to the D drive, and then, or whatever drive you wanted, you can, then you can plan for the installation. And before you start the installation, you have to make sure in which drive the operating system is there. So you have to verify if it is in C drive, just see what is the total, how many number of disk, partitions you have. There are three partitions, what in which operating system partition, in which partition the operating system is there. So what is the capacity of the operating system partition? Maybe 100 GB is there. Out of that, 20 GB is free, 80 GB is consumed. Remaining are like 250, 300 GBs are there. So that you will make sure while installing the operating system, you are installing it in the same drive. Then you start putting the CD, DVD, and then start, or pen drive. Then start installation. So when the installation screen starts and then asks for which drive to be installed, then you can see which is your primary drive. Whether my primary drive is of 100 GB capacity. If yes, just put it in the selected drive and start installation. Okay, fresh you already know, fresh build you already know. Okay, so there is no need to explain again. Okay, so when you start installing the rebuild, or once you start installation reinstallation, so once the reinstallation is done, you have the user ID, administrator username and password set. Now you need to do the post build activities. Either it is a fresh build or it is a rebuild, you have to do the post build activities. Now let us understand what are all the couple of post build activities that we perform after the installation completion. Any questions so far? So here are the couple of list of post build activities. Okay, so as soon as you are completing with the installation, first and foremost thing, you need to make sure whether the computer has got the proper name or not. Okay, proper naming computer naming convention or computer naming. So you need to properly rename the computer or name the computer, because when you start installation, the operating system will just get a random name, some QQWP1 something something. You will not be able to understand, or you will not be able to make a make an understanding what exactly this computer is. It a client computer, is it a server computer, or is it a laptop? You will not be able to understand it, and which region it is, which you will not be able to understand just by looking at the name with the default naming convention. So what you have to do, you should have the proper naming convention. Okay, so the name should be, the computer name should be like this. Okay, say for example, if you're working in Bangalore, okay, BNG. If it is a laptop 01. See, when you read this name, you will easily understand it is belongs to Bangalore location, and it is a laptop, and asset number is 01. So you will be able to understand properly. If it is a server, probably it will be like this: BNG hyphen some application FB01. See, when you read this name, you will be easily understand, okay, this is a Bangalore location, an application name called Facebook FB, and the server name is 01. So when you read the name of a computer, you should be able to understand, okay, that computer is a client computer or a server computer, or is it which location, and what is the asset number. So that is why, see, when you have 10 20 computers, it is easy to remember. When you have big organizations, like when we have 2000 3000 computers or the servers, so computers will be more than that. In any company, even the small company has a 1000 computers will be there. If you go for a big companies like, IBM, Accenture, Dell, okay, Cognizant, you will minimum have 50 60,000 or lakhs together computers are there. Correct now. So the proper naming is very very important. Then the second one is, because see, when in your family, maybe say for example a new baby took birth, as soon as the baby took birth, we will start asking or thinking about how to call the baby, what name we should name her. Then we will go to multiple website. If it's a baby boy, baby girl, depend on that. You ask your friends all those things, and then you will decide one beautiful name, so that it is easy for her. I mean, it is easy for you to call her in the good name, right? The same thing happens here. And another one is, the second one is, when the computer is live, you need to add the IP address. I mean, you need to make sure the computer is there in the network. See, if there is no network, IT will not be there. You have 1000 computers and there is no connectivity between each other, then that is of no usage. IT runs on network, IT runs on internet. Okay, if there is no IT, I will not be able to connect to my computer to my office location. I will not be able to do work from home. Or I am sitting in Bangalore, but I'm working for a company in America. Correct na? How are we established a connection between my laptop at office, at my home, and to the server which is there in the American office? That is possible with the help of the technology and the network. So without the network, whatever you do, it is of useless. You cannot do anything at all, first of all. So then the second thing is, you need to make sure whether the computer has got the proper IP address or not. Proper IP address. So you need to make sure, yeah.
Sir, is it host name first one?
Yep,
Naming means.
yep, yep.
Oh, oh,
Computer
okay.
name, host name, both are same only. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Then the
Okay, sir.
computer should have a proper IP address. Okay. So when I talk about IP address, there are two types of assignments actually. One is manual assignment, Another one is dynamic assignment. So manual assignment means you manually assign an IP address to the network interface card. You manually go to the network interface card and add the IP address, subnet mask, gateway and DNS address so that the computer will be there in the network. Another one is dynamic assignment. Dynamic assignment means you don't need to manually add the IP address to the network interface card. There is a service called DHCP. Okay, in the IT there is a service called DHCP. DHCP in the sense it is dynamic host configuration protocol. Host config protocol means if you read it carefully, what it does, it dynamically configure your computer. So you don't need to manually spend time in adding the IP address, subnet mask, gateway and DNS address to all the available computers in the network. See, imagine you have 50 computers at your office. You're working in a small organization, around 50 computers. So it is easy to remember 50. I mean, it is not easy to remember the numbers first of all. Which computer have given which IP address, it is very difficult for us because for human beings, remembering the name is easy, but remembering the number is difficult. If you give 1000 computer names, at least one or two times, if you read, when you hear that name, somebody talks about that name, you will be able to correlate, yes, resonate. I know this, I know this. But IP address are not like that because IP address is numbers with dots. Okay, like 221.192.1.10. Like this, if you have 50 computer or 1000 computers, it is not easy to remember the name numbers. Then what we will do, and also manual errors. See, if you want to add IP address to 50 computers manually to logging into each computer, okay, it is manual effort and possibility of having the same IP address to the different computer is also there. Means IP conflict. So there are two computers having the same IP address means both the computers will not work. If there are the same IP address is added in two computers, both the computers will not work in the network. I mean, both will not be there in the network. So this is a manual effort. Manual effort and manual errors are high in case of manual assignment. But in the dynamic assignment, we will tell a DHCP server, okay, this is the range. If somebody comes and asks you to connect, okay, you try to give this IP address like 192.168.1.12, 192.168.1.254. So there are 254 free IP addresses are there, and in the DHCP I have mentioned what is the first IP, what should be the last IP, what is your subnet mask, what is your gateway, default gateway, and the DNS address should go via DHCP scope. Okay, so that DHCP will assign IP address as well as its parameters. Parameter means the same thing, gateway, subnet mask and DNS address. Because in the DHCP we will create a scope here. In the DHCP we will create a option called scope. In the scope we are going to define everything. What is the first IP, last IP, subnet mask, default gateway and DNS address should go. So when some computer power on, you go to office and your power on, your computer gets on, then if it is set to dynamic assignment, okay, then it talk to the DHCP server and ask the IP address. Then the DHCP server will give you everything and it will make sure you are there in the network. That is called as dynamic assignment, just to avoid the manual errors and tracking information. Okay, and this manual assignment is there. No, this manual assignment is valid for unlimited days, lifetime. Means if you put an IP address manually to the network interface card, it will be there for lifetime of the computer until unless somebody goes and remove the IP address. That IP address will be there permanently. So manual means it is permanent IP address. Dynamic is not like that. Dynamic assignment will be given only for the least duration. So when you go to office today, when you connect, you will get an IP address like 192.168.1.10, and that IP address is valid for certain number of days. and that certain number of days we will call it as lease duration. Lease, we will go to for the houses, right? Lease houses. So when we buy the lease house, it will be valid for 2 years or 3 years. After that, either we need to renew it or we need to vacate it. The same fashion here. Okay, so dynamic assignment maximum. I mean the default lease duration is 8 days. 8 days. Okay, lease duration. Okay, so that is the dynamic assignment. I'll show you how to add an IP address, all those things. Okay, but I'm just explaining what are all the important things. Then you need to make sure the computer is in proper naming timing zone, time zone. Okay, so you need to verify. Okay, my computer. See, I'm sitting in India, but I am working for an American customer client. So what happens? You are working for an American customer, and your motto is to have their business continuity. I mean, there is no impact to the business. They should run the business as usual as well as their other activities seamlessly. Okay. So if you don't set the proper time zone, because see here when the daytime is here for you, for them it is night time. So now there is no business for them. Okay. But when they have the daytime, for us it is night. So what we have to do, we have to keep the time zone of the client only. Because imagine, say for example, there is a server, and the server should get shut down during the off business hour. After the business, say for example, evening around 7 o'clock, your computer or server should get shut down. If you set the time zone to the American company, the automation will just go and shut down the time zone according to the local time region. Okay, so according to the time of the local region. So if it is US, it will be US. If you don't set the timing properly, instead of shutting down at American off business hours, it may shut down to the Indian off business hour. If it is Indian off business hour, that is definitely for them it is business hour, because when we have a night, for them it is a daytime. So to avoid the business interruption, so what we have to do, we have to set the proper time zone. It's very very important. Is it understood why the time zone is important? Because most of the activities will be done by automation. Automation means there is a certain task that get automatically triggered according to the some condition and according to some time. Okay, either the trigger condition can be time or some other event. If it is a time based automation, so say for example, if you want to run the automation after the American time zone or business off business hour, if you don't set it properly, it may shut down in some other business time. Correct na? That is why time zone is very very important. That's very easy. I'll show you that how to do that. The next one is, any question?
Uh, Sir, if we rebuild the like OS, we have to give the new like a manual. This one, which one? Host name, manual host name only, or we can use
Exactly.
the old host name also.
You have to give the old name only. That's
Old
why
name
it
only.
depends on the new, I mean the installation. If it is a new
Okay.
installation, according to the same location. See, the naming convention will be different for different location. Correct na? Maybe
Okay.
Bangalore you have BNG. For Hyderabad you
Okay.
may have HYD. Correct na? Or if you
Okay.
talk region wise, IND for India, for US it is US, for
Okay.
Europe it is EU. It
Okay.
depends. And
Okay.
if it is an old existing server, you make a note of all the things. Copy
Okay.
the name, what is the name, what is IP address, which region it is, which OU the computer is present, what all users are there to give
Okay.
the access. That's what I'm coming now. I will explain one by one. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So with respect to the time zone, you don't have any question. The fourth one is access. I mean, what level of access user access to the user for the computers or application. So when you build a computer, say for example, now you are building a new computer, I am joining to your organization. So when you build a new laptop to me, if I don't have the access to the laptop, I will not be able to log in only. So what you have to do as an engineer, you need to make sure you have a quality boarding. Okay, means quality build. So you created, you installed a computer operating system, you created the proper name, okay, you have added the time zone, and you have given the IP address to dynamic assignment. You have given all the above three, but the fourth one is you have not given me the access. When I try to enter my username and password, it says your username and password is invalid, you don't have access to your computer, contact your system administrator. So what you have to do, you need to verify I am going to give this application or a computer for whom, and what level of access I should give. It is there in the template. Whenever the request comes now for you to install operating system or something, in the ticket they will mention everything. If it is a fresh build, they will tell you which region, which location, which department, and which who is your manager. All those things they are going to tell you. So this you have to get the information from the ticket and do accordingly. Okay. Then if they will tell, okay, this user is needed administrator access or RDP access to the computer, then you can set the access according to the requirement. Okay. Either you can directly add him to some to the direct computer, or you can even create some groups, or there are already existing groups, you can add the person to that particular groups, then automatically you will get access to the computer. Okay. And next one is, you need to make sure whether the drives are there, partitions or drives. Okay. Drive means how many drives are there. Okay, D drive, maybe if you have two drives, maybe one is your D drive, another one is your E drive, where you keep your data. Okay. So you need to make sure whether the create all the created drives are up and running, whether the drive letter is correct or not, whether the D drive is correct or not, and then you need to copy whatever data user asked you to take the backup wherever locations you have. If it is D drive, copy to the D drive. If it is E drive, copy to the E drive. And then you need to install all the required applications there. What are all the applications? I'll tell you now. So applications. So say for example, user should have PDF reader. PDF reader, or you may have, you may need Google Chrome, or some SAP UI application. SAP UI application. Any question? Okay.
Sir, partition, once again you repeat, sir.
Yeah. See, if you remember, while installing the operating system in our 2 days before class, out of 60 GB, I have created two drives. Correct, na? So, two drive, one is C drive for 50 GB I created, another one is 10 GB E drive I have created. What you have to do, once the partition is completed, you created only there in the during the installation, but it will not reflect in the operating system until and unless you go to the disk management and give some drive letter. If there is no drive letter, it won't be visible in the my computer option, or this PC it won't be visible. So what you have to do, you have to go to disk management, and then you need to set some drive letter, E drive, F drive, whatever drive you wanted, you can set the name. I will show you tomorrow. Okay, so you need to set the drive letter and you need to assign, then that drive is visible in the my computer. Okay.
Sir, we can assign a drive name post installation or easy to pre-installation. Yeah,
See,
while
the
installing only.
creation of the partition should happen before the operating system installation. That's what
Okay,
I
sir.
did. So
Okay, sir.
total 60 GB, I created 50 GB one drive for C drive,
Okay, sir.
operating system another 10 GB bar data drive. The
Okay, sir.
partitioning should happen during the build only. First time, if it is a
Okay,
reinstallation, you don't need to do, because in the reinstallation you don't create the partitions. The partitions already there.
okay, sir.
Only if it is a fresh build, first time you bought a new laptop, new computer, that time you need to do during the installation.
Okay, sir.
So that is the applications. Some SAP UI applications you may need. Okay, you have to install it. Or any other agents, monitoring agents like Splunk agent. See, I am telling both in the context of server as well as the desktop. Okay, so you need to remember that either the Splunk agent I will install, Splunk monitoring agent, or any antivirus, or any backup agent. This is all for server, I'm telling. Backup agent. Try to think always in the server perspective, guys. Okay, because I don't want you to be there for more than 1 year in the desktop. You have to switch your technology to the server. So whatever operations that you do in the client computer, the same thing will be done in the server computer. So when you are learning the new thing here, why can't you resonate that with the server, so that you parallelly learn both desktop as well as server? Okay, so these are all the list of applications user may need in the laptop, and the last one is Outlook configuration here to read the emails, and MS Office, MS Excel, Office. Okay, so these are all the things. I think I have covered the name, IP address, partition, access, and next one is domain joining. This is important. Means you need to make sure the computer is domain joined. Okay. Yeah. So if you don't join the domain, the computer will be there in the work group. If the computer is there in the work group, it will not get any policies or group policies will be applied. Okay, then the computer may not be, I mean the user may not be able to log into the computer and all. See, before you give the access only, you need to do the domain joining, guys. Before you are just done with the manual assignment, so not the manual, as soon as you are renaming the computer, you need to make sure the computer is domain joined. Or you can do both together. You can rename the computer as well as you can domain join the computer at the same time. You can do that. I'll show you that.
Sir,
uh,
sir, what is a domain and work? What is the difference between work group and a domain actually? Domain, I think in general we know as a website or some organization.
yes, see, domain, see, there are two things actually. One is work group. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
another one is domain. I am going to start this topic next week, or another 2 3 days I'll start this. So work group means, if you break this word, plus group, work plus group means there are a group of computers at your workplace where they have peer to peer connection. Means, say for example, there are 10 computers. Imagine there are 10 computers. All the 10 computers are interconnected. There is a switch actually. This is a switch. Okay. between the switch they are interconnected. So computer 1 can talk to the another 9 computer, computer 10 can talk to the another remaining 9 computers. Likewise, all the computers will have the connection, network connection at your office. What you can do, you are the engineer user, you can log into your computer and you can access the data of my computer also there. So there is no security. Okay, means say for example a user is created here in this computer. Okay, he will not be able to log into this computer, he will not be able to log in this computer, he will not be able to log in this computer. What you have to do, you have to create a new user in all the computers. The administration burden will be heavy here. And say for example due to some security issue, okay, some virus has come, then you got an instruction, all the available in this example only 10 computers are there. Imagine you have 1000 computers, then you get a notification all the 1000 computers, I right away need all the 1000 computers, the pen drive should be blocked, user should not use the pen drive. Then what do you do? All the users are doing work from home, many people are doing at work from home, and you will not be able to easy, it is not an easy job to complete the activity in within 2-3 days of time. It is not at all possible for 1000 computers. Even though you have all the 1000 computers at one place, to make the changes you need at least 10 minutes to log into the computer, open the console, make the changes, apply the changes. Okay, minimum 8 to 10 minutes is required. So even if you consider 8 minutes also for 1000 computers, 8000 minutes, is it not a, is it a viable solution? No. So what we have to do then what we have to do, we have to go to the domain. If it is a domain means it's a security boundary first of all. Okay, domain means it is a security boundary. So this is work group, there is no connectivity, even though there is a network connectivity, the user should have login to their own computer. Say for example in your office, in your home you have a computer and the computer has got two names. One is your login, another one is your brother or sister login. When you log in with your ID, it shows your data. Or when your when your sister or brother logs in with his ID or her ID also, they will be able to see your data in the D drive and D drive. There is no security, he can delete the job or she can delete the job of your data. So there is no security in case of work group. But in case of domain it is not like that. The domain means it is a security boundary. Anything and everything that you do, it will be tracked, and it will ask for the username and password, because the authentication will be done at the domain controller level, not in the local level. That's what I said. See, when you create a user here, okay, when you create a user here, that user is restricted or limited to this computer only, he don't have access here, you cannot even grant it access here in case of work group. But in case of server it is not like that. In case of server, you create a users here in a central server. Say for example in there is a OU called Bangalore, in that you have user 1, you have user 2, and all the computers are interconnected here, all are connected to the server. So today you are here, okay, tomorrow you are traveling to some American company, okay, here, okay, and you have some data in your desktop here, but you have not carried the desktop there. So what you can do, you can ask your administrator to grant access to one of the computer here with the same username and password. What you can do, with this user whatever we have created for you, we can give access with the help of domain controller to this computer, and you instead of here you can even log into this computer, and once you log into the computer with the help of your G drive or OneDrive, you can see all your data. So since the users are getting created here in the domain controller, see here user 1, you are there, and I am not creating the user in the local computers here, okay, and that is the reason I can use this name and give access to this computer. This is called as centralized administration, centralized authentication. We have this class very deeply in the upcoming days. So for now your understanding is work group means it is a group of computer, there is no security among them. You can log into your computer with your name, username and password, but still you can see your sister's data, your brother's data. Similarly, your brother or sister can log in with their username and password to the computer, whatever you have at your home. But even though they are using different username and password, once they log into the computer, they can see the data of yours, they can delete the data of yours. So there is no security. But domain, it is not like that. Domain means every instance, every situation, it will ask you username and password. You have to prove your authenticity. So you are the right or the legitimate user to access the application or to access the data. So it is a security boundary. It will help you to create the users at one place, and it will also help you to use the same username and grant access to some other computer at different location at any time. Within fraction of seconds, we can grant access to you. Okay, these are all the some basics post build activities that we perform. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll just repeat one more time quickly for 2 minutes. So today we discussed about the post build activities. This post build activities will be performed after the completion of your installation, both any is it in a client computer or it is a server computer, no matter. So it is the post build activities we call it as. Another word is their operation readiness test. Means before you give a computer or a server to the operations, you need to make sure the readiness of the server or the client computer. How to make sure? You need to make sure whether the naming is properly correct kept or not to the computer. You need to rename the computer to the proper naming convention, and then you need to make sure whether the IP address is added or not. If it is a client computer, 99% of the time it is manual only. If it is a server computer, lifetime the server should have a static IP. The server should not have a dynamic IP, because dynamic IP will be keep on changing every 8 days. But your application should have a static IP, because once an application is run, that will be there for lifetime of the computer, and user will always try to use the same IP address. If the IP address is keep on changing, the user will not be able to access the application, because IP address is getting changed. Okay, that is, you need to make sure whether the IP address is added or not. Then the time zone, you need to make sure which time zone my computers are there. Okay, you need to set the time zone according to the business. Then you need to make sure the user has given access either to the computer and also to the required applications. Okay, then the user will be able to log into the computer once you have the access. Fifth one is partition. Partition, you created the partition during the installation. You need to make sure those partitions are visible in the my computer once the installation is done. And then you need to install the basic applications like in your PDF reader, Google Chrome, SAP user interfaces, Splunk agent, antivirus to be installed, backup agent to be installed, Outlook configuration should be done, and MS Office should be installed. Okay, and then the domain joining. So once you are done with the renaming, you need to make sure the computer is part of the domain. If it is Microsoft domain, you need to add it to the Microsoft. If it is Facebook, you need to add the Facebook. Okay, according to the company which you work, the domain name will be there. According to that, you can add it there. Okay, so you also learnt about the difference between the work group and the domain. Work group means it's group of computers connected each other, or peer-to-peer connection is there, but they does not exhibit any security. Okay, and the manual administration will be burden, because you need to log into each and every computer to make the changes. But in case of domain, it is not like that. You have 1,000 computers, just go to the OU where all the 1,000 computers are there, right click on the group folder, create a new policy, just apply the policy. Within 3 minutes, all the 1,000 computers will have the settings. The disable USB pen drive will happen in 3 minutes, not even 3 minutes, within a minute we can do that. Okay, that's the beauty of the domain. So we are going to talk about this work group and domain maybe another 2 days. Okay, you will understand better. So I would like to any question here.
No, sir.
Okay, I'm stopping the
No.
recording now. Yeah, I'm stopping the recording.